Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar session today. Before we get started, I wanted to share with you a little bit about Education USA. And also welcome our guest speaker from Central Michigan University, Tisa Thompson-Betts, who is the Assistant Director of International Outreach and Recruitment. Thanks so much for being here, Tisa. It means a lot. And before we get started, like I mentioned, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what is Education USA, all right? Education USA is a U.S. Department of State network of more than 400 advising centers in around 170 countries and territories around the world. And our objective is to provide assistance and advise students who want to pursue higher education in the United States. Here in Guatemala, we are based as the Instituto Guatemalteco Americano, which is the binational center here in Guatemala, the only binational center. And so that is our host institution here. And you may work with us on one-on-one basis. Currently, we are providing appointments virtually, and you can contact us in the following in the following links and informations. Our email is guatemalacity@educationusa.org, and you can find us on social media. A couple notes on how we will be working today. So we have people tuning in from perhaps different countries in the region and the world. So please make sure to let us know where you're tuning in from. And yeah, so we can say hi to you. We really, really appreciate you joining and tuning in and being here on time. It means a lot. We will be receiving questions at the end of the presentation, okay? You may let us know the questions in the chat box if you're on Zoom, or in the comment section if you're tuning in through Facebook Live, all right? So without further ado, please, Tisa, take it over.
All right, thank you so much. Just give me 1 minute here while I switch over and start my presentation. Okay, hopefully you can all see that all right. So hello and good evening and good afternoon to those of you in North, Central, and South America. I'd really like to express my gratitude to Education USA for the opportunity to speak with you all today. Them and CMU appreciates that partnership that we've shared with Education USA and continually encourage students to use the Education USA services, as it really makes the transition and studying abroad process much easier and keeps students well informed. So it's a pleasure to be here, and we thank you very much for this opportunity. So progress one slide. All right. So I'll start with a little bit of introduction. My name is Tisa Thompson-Betts, and I'm the Assistant Director of International Outreach and Recruitment at Central Michigan University. And on the screen, you'll see a map of the United States, and CMU is located in Michigan, which is that state in red, and it's kind of shaped like a mitten or your hand. Oh, this way. Okay. So we're kind of shaped like that. So if you know someone from Michigan, or if you meet someone from Michigan, you can ask them where they live by having them hold up their hand and point, which is kind of a neat little trick. So CMU is located in the town of Mount Pleasant, and that name can be a little bit confusing, as when you visit Mount Pleasant, you'll realize that there really aren't any mountains, but it is a very pleasant place to live and study. And I'll be sharing a little bit more about Central Michigan University at the end of this presentation. So let's get right into it. So today we're going to be discussing extracurricular activities. So what are extracurricular activities, or extracurriculars as we call them sometimes? The photos on the screen are all examples of some extracurricular activities, things like drama clubs, music, sports, volunteer organizations, and many more. So if we break it down and look at the definition of extracurricular, we'll see that it's comprised of two parts. So the first part, which is extra, which means on the outside, and then the second part of the word, which is curricular, and that means kind of subjects comprising a course of study. So anything outside of your course of study. So the definition that we'll be using for today's webinar is anything you do outside of class that is not required to graduate. So that can include community involvement, athletics, perhaps music groups, leadership opportunities, political or religious activities, activism, arts, theater. And there are so many examples of extracurricular activities. So in your head, you can kind of think right now, what are some additional activities that you might be involved with? So think of those right now, and we'll kind of go back to those, and you'll create your own little list here as we're going through. So for the agenda for this webinar today, we're going to talk about the benefits of being involved in extracurricular activities, also how to be involved in high school and how that can better help prepare you for university admissions. We'll also discuss university involvement and how that can help you prepare for your career. Additionally, we'll talk about how and why to continue to be involved in extracurricular activities, and then we'll wrap it up by talking about Central Michigan University, our available programs, scholarships, and some of the wonderful things happening on our campus. And of course, we'll have some time at the end for questions. All right, so let's get started. So this first section, we're going to talk about the benefits of being involved in extracurricular activities. Oops, wrong way. So why be involved in extracurricular activities? Well, to begin with, it is fun to try new things that you may not have tried before. You may have the opportunity to interact with different people with whom you may have not interacted with before. You can build new friendships and relationships through these extracurricular activities. It also allows you to explore different areas of interest to see if you like them, and also gives you the opportunities to develop life skills that are helpful to build upon. Take the photo on the screen, for example. It looks like these people are having fun stripping paint off the house. It looks like they're having conversations and building those social relationships. They may be interested in what it's like to paint a house and are able to use that experience of that first time and build upon that. And it's also building life skills that they may utilize another time in their lives as well. Also, extracurricular activities keep you busy and possibly out of trouble. Students who participate have also shown higher levels of self-esteem and confidence. And in addition to that, students who engage in extracurricular activities have better attendance at school, and their academic performance outperforms their peers who actually don't engage in these activities. And students who are involved are strengthening their minds, and they're stretching themselves further and learning by being involved in additional organizations and activities. Extracurricular activities also help you develop as an individual, as you're able to try out new things and figure if you like them or figure out if you don't like them. And it helps you find out what you're good at as well. They help with time management. If you know you have some homework and maybe band practice one night and have a meeting to go to with your volunteer team, then you know you need to be really efficient and schedule your time well. These activities can also help with career exploration. You can try out different activities to see if you really do like working with machines or working with children. And even the things that you learn you don't like to do can help you in narrowing down your career path and help you figure out what's next. So if you discover that you really enjoy nature and the environment, you might want to pick a career or a school which has an environmental focus to it. Or if you visit maybe a big city for a debate competition and you realize that you don't really like big city life and the fast-paced life of the big city, maybe that helps you figure out that you want to go to a school in a smaller town. And all of these are fantastic benefits to extracurricular activities. So now we're going to look at high school involvement, how to be involved or expand your involvement, and why that is important in high school. So first, let's take a little bit of inventory of how you're currently involved. So think about anything you're involved with outside of the classroom. Perhaps you're part of the drama club. Maybe you're on the soccer team. You're an after-school tutor for elementary students. These are all great examples of extracurricular activities. Then think about any new areas that you might be interested in exploring further. Perhaps you've always wanted to be on the debate team, or maybe play the saxophone in the jazz band, or maybe you'd like to be more involved in your community and would like to volunteer. These are all great as well. So then you should try out these new activities or speak with people who are already involved with them. That way you can get a better idea of what the activities are about and how the organizations are run. And you'll want to know where meetings are held or what time of commitment is expected of you. Some organizations take some financial obligation as well, so you'll maybe need proper equipment or materials. For example, if you're wanting to join that jazz band and play the saxophone, you probably need a saxophone. Or you might need studio space for art club, and you might have to pay a rental space for that studio. So learn more about these organizations and try them out. After you've had some time to learn about these new interests and experience them a little bit, go back to that list and figure out which activities you're most excited for and passionate about continuing, and maybe narrow that down a little bit. Perhaps you enjoyed drama club for the first few years, but maybe it's not what you had really hoped for. And maybe the jazz band requires way more practice than you're willing to commit to, and that time is too much for your schedule. And that's fine. It's really okay to step away from your activities that you're no longer enjoying, or maybe activities that don't fit in with your schedule or your future goals, because it's better to be well committed to several activities than it really is to be loosely committed to lots of different activities without fully investing in them. Now we're going to move along to how these activities can help you prepare for your admission into university. So as you're looking at university admission, there are several factors that play a part in the admissions process and your admissions into the school. And I want to take a minute to say that each school has different requirements for admission, and you'll want to check out each school individually to see what they require for admission into their school. So what I'm discussing here today are just some general guidelines and suggestions, but it doesn't necessarily mean that every school will require this exactly. Most schools are going to want to take a look at your grades in high school and see if you were a good student or maybe if you struggled a little bit. They will also want to look at your test scores as well. These might be ACT or SAT scores, or maybe AP scores, or maybe your English test scores such as TOEFL or IELTS. Additionally, many schools are interested in your extracurricular activities in which you've been involved, which is obviously what we're focusing on here today. They'll also want to know about your experiences in life so far. Did you struggle in school maybe because of a disability? Or did you have an opportunity to visit an orphanage and know that you wanted to work with children? Maybe you took a first plane ride and knew that you wanted to be a pilot. Essentially, how have your experiences shaped you as a person and made you choose this career path or this school to pursue? Schools also want to know your goals and views. So talking more about maybe why you want to be a doctor or a teacher, or why you feel that there needs to be more initiatives to clean up the environment. These are experiences and goals that help shape you as a person and make you more than just a name and grades and test scores. And all of these things can really help you write your admission essay and talk about why you're passionate about protecting an endangered species or providing food assistance to malnourished populations, or how you became the person that you are and how that person is going to thrive at this school or provide value to the student population at the school. And of course, all of these populations are a part of that larger university application. So while extracurricular activities can seem like only a small part, they really can help shape you as a student and as a person and help you find your passion and your drive, which is so important in each of the other parts of that university admissions process. So as you're preparing for your university admission, you want to take some time to organize your involvement. So go back to that activity list that we talked about earlier and make sure that you have everything listed. You may even want to take some time to ask your parents or your siblings or your teacher to review that list. Sometimes we overlook things that we have done, and our teachers can help remind us, hey, remember when you volunteered at that school food drive the past 2 years? You should really include that as well. Also, think about what makes you stand out as an individual. Remember, when you apply to university, you are one of likely thousands of applicants. And if there's an admissions essay, what's going to make the university representative at that school or that university remember you after they've read your essay? You want that representative to finish reading your paper and say, wow, this student would make a great addition to our school. Or isn't it wonderful how passionate they are about their studies? Also think, have you participated in any unique opportunities, such as maybe climbing to the top of a large mountain? Maybe you did that through the Outdoor Activities Club. Have you had any one-of-a-kind ideas, such as developing a new app to help children communicate? Maybe you developed that app through the computer programming team that you were involved with. Or have you approached a situation with an interesting solution, such as a different way to help organize a food drive? And maybe that solution came out because you were involved as a community volunteer. All of these are great examples of how to make yourself stand out as a student and as a person. And it also shows how your extracurricular activities may have helped you have all these wonderful experiences, which make you that memorable applicant. Also, you want to demonstrate your passion. Why are you so excited about helping elderly people? Why do you think it's so important to preserve ancient cultures and languages? Why do you do what you do? And why do you think it's so important that you do it? You really want to convey that passion to the university representatives so they really feel your passion and not just read that you are a passionate person. Also talk about what impact it has had on you. Perhaps music was a form of therapy for you and you want to help others benefit through music. Or maybe researching about your ancestors made you feel more connected to your culture and your identity, and you really want to help others feel that connection. So demonstrate to that university representative your enthusiasm for the subject and your career path. And all of these will help show your passion and make you and your application more memorable. It is also beneficial to show how you have grown as a person, either through skill or through knowledge. And this shows that you're committed to learning and always wanting to grow and develop and become a much better and more engaged and developed person. And much of this growth can also take place within extracurricular activities. Some examples are listed on the screen, such as learning a new language, maybe picking up a new instrument, developing a new talent or skill, traveling to a new place to learn about a new culture, and many, many more. Also, extracurricular activities are a great opportunity for you to practice leadership, and admissions applications are a great opportunity to demonstrate that leadership. Perhaps you served as a team captain. That's a really good example. Or maybe you participated in a leadership conference. You can demonstrate leadership by taking initiative in something. Maybe you saw that there was a lot of trash or garbage in your community, and you organized an effort for peers in your neighborhood to help pick up that garbage and make the community look better. That's a great example. Also, leaders take responsibility. So if you made a mistake and you learn from that mistake, feel free to include that as well. University representatives really don't want you to be perfect people. They're not looking for perfect students, but they do want to have students who acknowledge their mistakes, learn from them, and then continue moving forward. Also, your school representatives or the university representatives want to see how you have made a difference or plan to make a difference. It's important to highlight the impact that you have had on your school, on your community, your country, or even the whole world. At Central Michigan University, we have this saying, put your stamp on the world. and we want every one of our students to have an impact and make a difference in the world. If you've already made an impact, convey that impact through your admissions application and your essay. Talk about the number of people you helped through your after-school tutoring work. Maybe list the amount of money that you raised for the local park through your door-to-door fundraising campaign. Show the statistics on how many more people attended this year's jazz concert because of the social media promotion work that you completed. Or demonstrate how your basketball team collectively increased their grades based on the after-school study sessions that you implemented as team captain. These are all phenomenal examples of how leadership is demonstrated and some of the examples of what university representatives are looking for when selecting standout students for their upcoming class. So right now you may be thinking, I have all these examples to include with my application. This is very exciting. Or you may be on the other end of things thinking, I need to engage a little bit more in order to have more examples. And that's fine. If you need a few more examples, hopefully you've got a little bit more time to seek out these experiences so that you have some examples to reference. When you're writing your essay, focus on specifics. Don't just say, I'm a great leader and I care about the community. Instead, say something maybe more along the lines of, I'm a great leader and I care about my community, as I have demonstrated by my initiative to raise $2,000 to go towards the community playground, so that broken equipment can be fixed and freshly painted, or something like that. It's a great example of how you are a great leader and how you care about your community. Or as another example, don't just say, I enjoy dancing. Instead, maybe talk about how you're committed to make sure that the native dance of your ancestors is preserved by continuing to share the dance at festivals and teaching younger children how to do that dance and maybe the meaning behind it. Also, make sure that you're talking about the impact maybe building a playground or sharing the dance has had on that community, but also the impact that it's had on you as a person, not just community. Were you fulfilled by seeing children play on the playground equipment that you helped build? Did it bring you joy to watch someone learn the dance that you taught them? You're wanting to make sure that you're creating the story of who you are and why you have done the things that you've done and what impact that's had through all of these activities. And that's how you can also create a more memorable essay and one that will stand out to university representatives when they make their admissions decision. After you've written your essay and focused not only on the things that we've talked about previously, but also paying close attention to those important things like grammar and formatting and all the other pieces that make up a good essay, give that essay to someone else or maybe a couple of other people to read. They can really provide helpful feedback to you in many ways. Some fixes might be simple, such as, oh, you spelled education wrong here. Other times, someone may say something that they're having a hard time following your essay and maybe it lacks a solid conclusion. Those pieces might take a little bit longer to fix, but it is better that your teacher tell you that or your friend tell you that than for a university representative to be thinking it when reading your essay. Maybe your friend would read your essay and say, hey, you talked about being a really good leader, but again, maybe you forgot to mention that you were president of student council. It's great feedback. Often it's helpful to have these external perspectives to provide that helpful feedback on your essays. And also very important, as you have all your activities in one place and organized, take some time and search for some scholarships. There are a lot of scholarships out there that are tied to extracurricular activities. Some scholarships might be looking for a leader who has made an impact in the community. Others might be looking for an affiliation with a particular organization. Seek out scholarships from the universities in which you're applying, but then also look closer to home. There may be community scholarships that are available or government sponsorships that you can pursue. And you can certainly check with Education USA. They're a great resource as well, and they might have some scholarships that they're aware of that you might be qualified for. You can even check online through a search engine site. And as I make that recommendation, I do so with a little bit of caution. Unfortunately, there are a lot of scams out there and people who don't really have a scholarship to offer, but are looking for some money. And our general rule is if someone is asking you to pay them to access a scholarship, that's probably not a good source and you may want to look elsewhere. So just be careful with that. All right, so by this point, we're going to talk about university involvement. So if we can look to the future a little bit and make some predictions, and hopefully we've predicted that you wrote this amazing essay about all of your extracurricular activities, which portrayed all the amazing things that you've done and the impacts that you've made. And because of that, you've been admitted to your first choice school with lots of scholarships. So that sounds nice, right? Well, congratulations. So now let's take a look at how to be involved when you reach the university. Before you even arrive to the university, you can start this search process. So go to the university's website and look at a list of all the student organizations on the campus. Here you can see a screenshot of CMU's student organization page. And like many other schools, we have lots of different student organizations in which students can be involved. You can look up intramural sports, you can look up service activities, Greek organizations, which are our sorority and fraternity groups on campus. You can look up how to be involved and with like the international student organization on campus, and maybe connect with students from your own country. There is really a student organization for everyone. And if you get to the school and you find out that we don't have an organization that you're looking for, that's great. You can always start one and be the founding member of a new organization and have the school help you start that new student organization focused on your specific topic. Another great place to check is on social media. Many, but not all organizations have social media accounts in universities. From these social media accounts, you can see lots of information like how active the organization is. You can see what some of the activities they've recently or in the past participated in. You can contact the group and maybe ask for more details on the organization. You can watch videos to see maybe how good our Quidditch team is. There are lots of ways to interact with these organizations, even from a distance. You can also ask for recommendations on organizations to join. Maybe ask a friend who has been at the university longer than you have if they've enjoyed being a part of the International Student Organization and if it might be a good one for you to join. Or chat with a professor and ask for a recommendation on maybe a club or an organization on campus that would help you develop your robotic skills if that's what you want to get into. You can check with the Career Services Department to see if they have any recommendations. Maybe on organizations that you could join which look good on a resume if you want to become an accountant. It's always good to get feedback from other people in departments who might have more insight than you do in a certain area. So really don't hesitate to ask. Feel free to reach out for those suggestions. You can also attend a meeting for that club or organization. Often at the beginning of the school year, all student organizations will put on this big organizational fair where you can go visit tables for all of the different student organizations on campus. You can speak with other members to see when maybe the first informational meeting will be held. And you can also check their social media accounts too, like I mentioned earlier. Then you can attend those meetings to get a better feel for the organization. Maybe if the chess club says that they have meetings every Tuesday at 8, and then the volleyball team that you're on also practices Tuesday evenings at 8, you might need to figure out which one of those activities is more important to you and prioritize. And then of course, try it out. There's really no better way to figure out if you like something or if you don't like it than to try it out. And this is the same thing that was recommended in the high school section. Sometimes you just have to try it out to figure out if you like it, and maybe something you thought was going to be amazing turned out to not be so amazing. So you don't know until you try it. And again, just like what was recommended in high school, make your decisions on what you want to stick with and what you're going to discontinue. You don't want to take on too much all at once. Even if you end up not continuing with the tennis club or the debate team or some other organizations, hopefully you'll at least make some new friends through that process, so you won't go away empty-handed. And then we're going to wrap up this section with some cautions, or maybe some don'ts, we'll call them. So don't be afraid to try something new. Especially your first year on campus, you're among a group of students to whom everything is new. So it's really an ideal time to ask lots of good questions and try new activities with lots of other people who are also trying new activities. Jump in with 2 feet and just give it a try. However, don't let your grades suffer. You are really at university first and foremost to go to class, learn, and earn good grades. If the fishing club meets at the same time as one of your classes, you should absolutely attend class instead of skipping class to go to the fishing club meeting. And then also don't get overwhelmed. This is why you can't skip that step about narrowing your focus and picking only the clubs in which you're serious about participating. Because if you have a full class schedule and you're trying to participate in 20 different student organizations, you're really going to become overwhelmed and something's going to probably suffer. And it's probably going to be your grades, likely friendships, and sometimes even your health can suffer. So don't be afraid to try something new. Don't let your grades suffer, and also don't get overwhelmed. All right, so now we're going to move on to career preparation and how extracurricular activities can help you prepare for a good career. First of all, and like we talked about earlier, they can help you explore different careers. You might be the treasurer of the debate team and learn about balancing a budget and spreadsheets to help you figure out if accounting is a career you'd like to pursue. You can also become part of the biology club to learn whether a career in physical science is something you'd be interested in. Or maybe you'll join a volunteer organization to see if nonprofit work is something that you'd enjoy. Also, as a reminder, extracurricular activities can help you develop skills. Perhaps you can better learn how to categorize historic items by joining a historical society. You can learn better programming methods by joining the gaming club. You can better communicate and develop your communication skills when leading club meetings and organizing events. And all of these are great skills to develop. You can also gain experience, and this is a big one when it comes to career preparation. If you have ever looked at a professional job posting or spoken with someone who has, many of them say that they're looking for someone with some education and or training as well as experience in that area. And if you're new or just out of university, your professional experience is probably somewhat limited. However, if you do have some experience through clubs and organizations and extracurricular activities that you've been involved with, and know what you've learned through those, even if it's not formal experience, it's at least something which demonstrates that you have knowledge and skills in this particular area. If you have developed software, that's some programming experience. If you have led a committee, that's leadership experience. If you've been a committee treasurer, that's budgeting experience. You can translate these extracurricular experiences into something that will help further develop your resume and make you a more appealing candidate. All right, so remember earlier how we talked about leadership and helping you with university admissions? Well, the same is true when applying for a job or preparing for a career. Extracurricular activities are a great opportunity for you to practice leadership. If you remember earlier, we talked about serving as a team captain or attending a leadership conference or taking initiative, and those are all still valid when preparing for a career too. One thing to note is that when applying for a job, your employer at the accounting firm is going to look at president of the accounting club probably more positively than captain of the track team, but both are still some sort of leadership experience. So when you're looking at your extracurriculars for career preparation, try to look at it through the lens of an employer you're wanting to hire. If you are the employer, maybe, for example, let's say a construction company that's hiring a project manager, and you have 2 candidates who have really the same grades and strengths and look to be pretty equal candidates. Who do you choose? Well, let's look a little bit more closely at each of these candidates. Perhaps candidate A has been captain of the soccer team, president of the fishing club, and was also in the outdoor adventure club. Okay, those are all good experiences and extracurricular activities. But now let's look at candidate B. Candidate B has been treasurer of the debate team, They've been president of the engineering club, and they've been a coordinator of supplies for a charity home building project. Which candidate do you think you would choose as a project manager for your construction company? The person who has played soccer, fished, and been outside, or the person who has managed a budget and has an engineering background and has coordinated building supplies before? I think most of us would say that if only looking at extracurricular activities, candidate B would probably be preferred over candidate A. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be involved with activities which don't directly align with your career. We all need balance, and we need fun, and we need all of those good things in our life. But if you look at the list of extracurricular activities and they're all sports, or if they're all social activities, perhaps you should try to add some more academic and career-focused activities to that list as well. We have talked through many slides about some of the benefits of extracurricular activities, but this slide helps us see some of the skills developed through those extracurricular activities. Skills such as adaptability, working with different types of people, such as cooperation, working through a problem and solving it together with a team or group. Skills like prioritization, which is demonstrated in time management and making sure the most important tasks are completed first. Skills like public speaking, whether in big groups or small groups, and listening to what others around you are saying and acknowledging their opinions and their preferences. This slide shows us some expectations employers have of their employees, and then a few examples of how extracurricular activities help practice and meet those expectations. So, employers expect that their employees know how to problem solve. So some examples are overcoming a situation that didn't go as expected, maybe contributing to a project when resources are limited, visualizing the goal and working towards it. Employers also expect that their employees know how to write and communicate verbally. Examples include contributing material to the student newspaper, maybe blogging, or participating in speech club. Employers also expect that their employees know how to work as a team. Some examples demonstrate engagement with campus organizations which require teamwork, sports teams, clubs, organizations. Employers also expect that their employees have a strong work ethic. So maybe volunteering at a nonprofit because you think it's your responsibility as a good citizen, or maintaining good grades while you're in school. Employers also expect that their employees know how to take initiative and be a good leader. And some extracurriculars that help demonstrate this are maybe leading a group project, serving as a club president, or maybe even a peaceful protest help demonstrate some leadership. So these are some expectations and the benefits that you can get from extracurricular activities that will help you as you prepare for your career. And we're going to wrap up the information on extracurriculars to talk a little bit about why it's important to stay involved with activities even after you have a job and are in the workforce. And I'll go through this section a little bit quickly, as many of these are repeated reasons from earlier sections, but they're still really valid as you continue on through life. So being involved with activities and the community is a great way to network and meet people. It's also a wonderful opportunity to build connections within your community, which can sometimes help you achieve future goals or work towards these future jobs that you're looking for. Even something like being on a summer softball team or a softball league. Maybe someone on that team works for the company in which you'd love to work. So getting to know them better, even through softball, it might be a really good opportunity for you to learn more about what it's like to work there, to make sure that it's still a good place that you want to work. Or perhaps that person can introduce you to the hiring manager and put in a good word for you. Staying involved in activities is also a good way to build your resume. Employers like to see that their employees are good at their jobs and have the skills necessary to contribute to the company. But employers also want to know that they're hiring people who have other interests, such as maybe giving back to the community or helping a particular cause. And this means that their employees are not just skilled in the areas that they've hired them to be, but they're also good citizens and contribute to their community. As we talked about earlier, activities often involve teamwork, and most organizations want their employees or their members to work well with others and to be a contributing member of that great organization or the bigger team. And so also activities help develop those team working skills and demonstrate them to others. Also, being involved with activities shows commitment, and commitment is important to organizations and employers. If you've been a devoted leader of your religious organization for 15 years, it really shows that you're a committed person and stick with something when you start it. If you have organized maybe a charity auction for the past 10 years, it shows that you're very devoted to that cause. And commitment is a really great trait that employers look for and want their employees and teammates to be very committed. And of course, we remember from earlier that you can always continue to develop and fine-tune your skills or even learn new skills by just being involved with activities and organizations. And then being involved is also a confidence booster. Sometimes these activities can make you feel good about the contribution that you're making. Other times, as you fine-tune a skill and you get better at it, your confidence in that area also grows. And then by meeting and socializing with other people, that can always be a confidence booster as well. And then of course, as we have talked about earlier as well a couple of times, all of these can help lead to internships or jobs for many years down the road. So as we wrap up today, I'm just going to take a few slides to talk about Central Michigan University, or CMU as we often call it, and then we'll open it up for some questions and answers. So CMU is a major research university. We are an R2 Carnegie classified research institution, which means that we are in the top 5% of schools for research, and we encourage students to be involved with research even from their very first year on campus. So our faculty and our students, they work elbow to elbow to change lives by researching cancer vaccines and better treatment for Huntington's, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's diseases. We are also a large university, but we have small class sizes with about a 21-to-1 student to faculty ratio, which means that you're receiving a lot of attention from your professors, and they're really accessible and can help you if you ever have questions. CMU has over 200 programs to study, with many of those programs being very highly ranked. And we have everything from engineering and technology to business and math to arts and music and sciences. So we have a program for just about everyone. And many of our undergraduate students will stay at CMU and continue on with their master's program and even their doctoral program. We have over 400 different student organizations on campus, so there is a lot of opportunity for students to be involved and help prepare themselves for their upcoming careers and lives after graduating, while also having a lot of fun at the university. CMU has a beautiful campus in the heart of Michigan. There's a lot of green space on campus, and it's really, really a beautiful campus all year round, even in the snow. The university, as well as the town of Mount Pleasant, is a very welcoming community. And there are so many warm and friendly people just waiting to welcome you to the community and to the university. And if you ever need help with anything, just ask. People are really warm and welcoming and friendly and really want to help. While we don't have all the time to talk about all of the amazing programs we offer, I did want to share a few highlights and some interesting facts about Central Michigan University. We have a new venture competition, which is kind of like the TV show Shark Tank, if you've ever seen that. Students present a product or a service to a group of investors, and if the investors think it's a good product or service, they can invest in the student's business or even provide mentorship to the students. And this competition has awarded over $250,000 of funding since 2010. CMU is a leader in SAP certifications, and our students are consistently participating in SAP competitions, and they often come away from those competitions winning them, and then sometimes students will get some job offers by attending those competitions as well. CMU is home to the nation's largest university-owned public broadcasting network, which allows students studying broadcasting and cinematic arts to really have that hands-on experience between our 5 television stations and 8 radio stations. CMU's fashion design and merchandising program is highly ranked in the Midwest and in all of the US, and these students are just fantastic. They put on this amazing fashion show every year to showcase their work. And while the students are hands-on here on campus, they also travel to other countries around the world like France and South Korea to gain a really global perspective within the field of fashion. CMU's undergraduate engineering programs were ranked 52nd by US News and World Report and in the top 25 of colleges for electrical engineering by Grad Reports. CMU also has a biological research station on Beaver Island in Lake Michigan, which is a really neat place and provides hands-on research opportunities for science and biology students. And CMU is also part of the Great Lakes Research Institute, which is comprised of 9 colleges and universities in the Midwest that is tasked with preserving and studying the Great Lakes ecosystem. And then last but not least, CMU's athletic training program was the first sports medicine major of its kind in the United States. CMU also has generous scholarships for undergraduate as well as graduate students. For undergraduates, any student who has a 3.3 grade point average on a 4.0 scale, who also meets the minimum English proficiency requirements, will be awarded our domestic tuition rate, which is approximately a $9,000 scholarship. And that would bring the total cost for tuition, housing, meals, everything all together, down to about $24,000 for 1 year. Graduate students are also eligible for the domestic tuition rate by having a 3.0 grade point average, meeting minimum graduate admissions test requirements, and having a TOEFL score of 100. Graduate students can also apply for graduate assistantships, which are provided by the department in which the student is studying, and those graduate assistantships will vary in the amount from department to department. So that graduate cost varies from program to program, anywhere from $11,000 to $17,000 per year in tuition, plus living expenses of about $12,000 per year. And that wraps it up for today for me. I really appreciate you, again, taking the time out of your day to participate, and hope you found it helpful in learning more about the benefits of extracurricular activities, and hopefully a little bit about Central Michigan University as well. I'd invite you to visit our website, email or call us with any questions, and also connect with CMU on social media to stay up to date on all the wonderful things that are going on our campus. And lastly, I'd again like to thank Education USA for the opportunity to speak with you all today. It's been a pleasure, and had a great time. So hopefully you have as well. And at this time, I think we'll open it up for some questions.
All right, thanks so much, Tisa. The information I think was very valuable and very interesting insights. So we got a couple of questions.
Sure.
One of them is, do extracurricular activities remain being important when you're in college or university? And in the sense of, will this open new opportunities for the person in the future?
Absolutely. I think it's very important to stay connected to extracurricular activities, or just activities in general. It allows you to meet new people, make friends, network. But like I mentioned, it can also open up job opportunities. It can give you additional exposure to new areas that maybe you've not explored before. So staying involved even through the university and even beyond university is very important for your growth and development, so that you can continue to better yourself as a person and develop your skills, but also make those connections and be introduced to maybe new people that can help open up doors for you in a career field.
Okay, thank you. One specific question about degrees offered at CMU. Does CMU offer a degree in genetics?
We don't offer a specific degree in genetics, not one specifically. But there are a lot of programs that you can take within like biology, where you can study about genetics, and so there might be certain courses that you can study, but it doesn't have a specific degree program in genetics.
Okay, very good, thank you. a couple questions regarding scholarships. So one person asks if it's easier to get admitted and a scholarship to CMU if they have an American high school diploma rather than a Guatemalan high school diploma. And tagging along on that, what would be the process of scholarships? It seems that was not clear for some people.
Okay, sure. So it is a little bit, it changes the admissions process a little bit for students who have graduated from a US high school. And I'd probably want to talk with a student individually. So if you want to email me at the email address on the screen, I can better help answer your question because it also depends on how long you've been at a US school. So if you've been there for 3 years, then you don't need to submit English proficiency. And so I'd want to talk with you a little bit further to best answer your question, but it does change the admissions process a little bit if you have graduated from a US school, and it could open up some additional scholarships as well. So again, if you'd just like to email me, I can make sure that I can link you up with the specific information on that.
Okay, thank you. Somebody is wondering about the amount of hours spent on an extracurricular activity. So say, how does CMU focus their attention in the hours per week and weeks per year spent in an extracurricular activity? Say, for example, a competitive athlete who trains 20 hours a week may not have the time necessarily to do many other activities.
Mm-hmm. And that's a great question. And it's really, there are so many different options for how you organize your extracurricular activities and what you're involved with. And if you're a very devoted athlete, that's great. It does show that commitment and that devotion. And, you know, if you've been captain of that team, that shows additional leadership experience. So there is a lot that you can, you know, participate in. But usually they want to see something else as well. And even if that is, you know, you're this devoted athlete, you're spending so much time in practice and time is limited, but maybe once a year you volunteer for this community project that's going on. And so hopefully there's at least some time in there that you can find another activity, even if it's not, you know, every week or 5 hours a week or 10 hours per week. Maybe it's just something small that you can also do that shows that, you know, you want to give back to the community, or there's something else that you're interested in as well. So everybody's going to be a little bit different, but really find ways within that extracurricular activity or multiple extracurricular activities to showcase yourself as a person and show all of those different things that we talked about today. So show your leadership, show your commitment, show how it's made you feel as a person, or how you've been able to give back to that organization or that community. So if you're only involved with one thing or maybe two things, that's fine, but you'll just want to make sure that you're well involved with those so that you've got lots of examples to draw from.
Cool, thank you. An interesting question came in about how does an applicant show that they've been involved in X, Y, or Z activity?
Sure. So it really depends on the school. Like I mentioned in the earlier slide, every school has a little bit of a different process in what they're looking for on your application. So some applications will say, you know, list the extracurricular activities that you have been involved with, or list the leadership positions that you've held. And then some schools are going to have you write an essay. So in all of those things, you can list them, but then also include them in that essay. So as you're writing your essay, refer to your extracurricular activities or refer to those leadership opportunities. And that way you can pull them into that essay and mention them again and how that has changed you or developed you, or how you've used that to give back to your community. So those are all ways that you can include that in your admissions application. But there's not a clear method because some schools don't require any of those as well. And so for some schools, it is just submitting your test scores and your transcripts, and they don't look at extracurricular activities. So you'll want to take some time and look at what is required for each school to make sure that you're showcasing yourself in the best way possible. And even if you're not looking, even if that particular school, maybe they don't require extracurricular activities or an essay or anything like that, you can still utilize those extracurricular activities for those scholarships like I mentioned. So still be involved, it's still good for you, even if the school doesn't require it, because once you get to the school, you can get involved with extracurricular activities that will certainly help as you're preparing for internships or job opportunities.
Very cool, thank you. And I want to add on that sometimes some students may be like, but I don't have any life experiences to share on my essay or in my application. And that's the idea of extracurriculars, you know, to get out there in the world and have some experiences that can give you some interesting material to talk about.
Right.
A couple other questions. So some people are asking in regards to grades and extracurriculars, you know, what's the relevance in the relationship between being a good student academically and also having extracurricular activities?
Yeah, like many things in life, you've got to find a good balance. And there's really no perfect equation, like you need this much in your grades and this much in your test scores and this much in your extracurricular activities for this perfect score that's going to get you admission. And again, it's going to depend, every school is going to be a little bit different. But if we're looking at your whole student profile and we see that you're involved with tons of extracurricular activities, but your grades are kind of low and your test scores are pretty low, that's going to show that maybe you're more interested in extracurriculars and not as focused on your studies. And so that's an off balance, something that you want to focus on a little bit more on your studies and your test scores. So it is really about looking at the whole picture. And so maybe if your grades aren't great, but your test scores are really good and you're involved with some extracurriculars and have some leadership opportunities and there's some interest in that area, maybe those things will make up for your low grades. Or maybe you're a really good student, but you're bad at taking tests, and so your test scores are a little bit lower, but you've got a lot of good extracurricular activities. They can all help, you know, balance things out. And so that's why it's good and needed to focus on all of them, because if you put, you know, everything into your extracurriculars and your grades suffer, that's not real great. So you do need some balance in that area.
Okay. And two last short questions. One,
Sure.
Some people asked about specific majors. For example, is there a major on molecular biology at CMU, and or do you offer med school for international students?
Sure. So we do have a biology program. There are molecular biology courses that you can take, but it's not a whole biology program that's only focused in molecular biology. Additionally, CMU does have a medical school. We do admit international students for like our pre-med program. So for undergraduate students, they're looking to get into medical school. We have like an undergraduate program for pre-medicine before they would go into medical school. At this point in time, our medical school is only open to US and Canadian citizens, and that's because it's pretty new right now. We're hoping that in the next several years that the med school will be admitting international students, but as of right now, it's just those two populations, so US and Canadian citizens. But again, you can still come for your undergraduate degree in medicine, and then even if our medical school is still not accepting international students, you could apply to another medical school at that point in time. Medical school in the US is very difficult, even for domestic students. US citizens, it's a very difficult process, and it's very difficult for international students as well. So if you want to do medicine, I'm all about it, good for you, but just know that it's a struggle for everyone. So just expect some challenges and some roadblocks along the way.
Yes, well said. And well, there's a couple other questions, but we are reaching our time cap. So is there a website that people can explore, you know, the majors that you offer, the graduate programs, and any other questions they may have? Of course, they can contact you and reach you at the email and the information that's on screen, and also follow you on social media, of course.
Yes, absolutely. We look forward to hearing from you.
Cool. Okay, everybody, thanks so much for being here. And remember, this is CMU, Central Michigan University. They shared a lot of valuable information on extracurriculars. Make sure to rewatch the video on Facebook Live and let us know any questions. My name is Maria Elisa Garnica. I am the advisor at Education USA Guatemala. And thanks so much, Tisa, for your time and your valuable contribution.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. Bye-bye.